What's up, guys? This is Tai Zen. With me is the honorable, grandmaster, legendary, world-renowned LeonFu.com. Say hello, Leon.
Hey there.
The great oracle of crypto, the Chuck Norris of crypto, right? Hey, excuse me. With us is a very special guest. We have the lead developer for the Decred project, Marco Peereboom.
Yep, that works.
That works? Okay.
Yep.
I'm glad. I didn't want to say it wrong. You punched me in the stomach or something, right? But thanks for joining us today. We're broadcasting here from the great city of Austin, Texas, the second best city to live in America, right? Which is located in the southern part of the United States in the great country of Texas, right? People get upset when I say that, that Texas is a country.
That's true, though.
Yeah. So Texas, guys, right, is obviously it's one of the biggest states in America, and everybody that comes from Texas, like we are, we consider it a separate country. So if you hear it, that's an inside joke. All right. Anyway, back to Decred. Okay, so before we talk about Decred, Marco, right, could you share with our audience a little bit about your background, like where you software engineer, technical guy, what was your background before you got into Bitcoin and blockchains?
So actually I'm a double E by training. So I went to double E school, and so I know how to, hold a soldering iron and, make a circuit.
Okay.
But I never acted on that. I pretty much straight out of college went to software and stayed with software.
Okay.
So I've always been on the periphery of hardware. So I worked at Dell for many, many years, working on servers and storage. So everything, if it was made out of metal, it was somewhere made between the late 90s and early 2000s. I worked on it.
Okay.
So
for Dell Computers.
For Dell Computers, right.
Okay. So we are in the city of Austin, the headquarters of Dell Computers.
Right. That's actually that's how I got here, really.
Okay.
So they shipped me over from Europe, hence the funny accent, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I detect a slight accent in your...
yeah, so I'm a Dutch citizen, but I moved here in 2000, been here, married, local, so not leaving.
Okay. Well, this is one of the greatest cities in America to live in, so...
Austin is fantastic.
Yeah, so...
Oh, wait, no, Austin is terrible, don't move here.
Yeah.
There's way too many people coming here every week.
Yeah. The southern part of Austin is actually, the last time I checked in one of the census ratings or something like that, they said that was the fastest growing area in America, was the southern part of Austin, between Austin and San Marcos.
Yep. Yeah. So that area is, well, actually all of Austin is growing very dramatically. As far as I think I saw some stats saying 200 families a week, and it has been going on for like 15 years. So
it's massive.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I lived here for like 5 years before I moved to Dallas, and when I come back, each time I come back, it's like bigger and bigger and bigger. It's the only city I go to where it just doesn't stop growing. It keeps growing every time.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So. So you came here to work for Dell Computers from Europe, and so what led between that to getting to know about Bitcoins? When did you first hear about Bitcoins, blockchains?
Oh my gosh! Well, so a little bit more background. So my biggest passion was always operating system design and operating system programming, specifically in the security front. That's what really made me tick. So I was always in and around crypto, although not always professionally. But I was always in that
in
area.
the cryptography space.
Right.
Okay.
So at Dell, I often actually worked on vulnerabilities and some other security-related activities. So I was always involved. So then in 2010, I started a company with Jake Yoakum-Pyatt, which is actually currently my boss and one of the guys that founded Decred. So, but he and I started a business doing secure online backup, zero knowledge secure online backup. It was a really cool project, but we did not have enough sales, so we shuttered that. While that was ongoing, the Bitcoin craze kind of started. So I heard of it immediately after it came out, of course, because I'm familiar in the space, but like most people, are like, oh, that's cool. I'll look at it next week.
And what year was this?
2009 is really when I started looking.
Oh, so you heard it the year it was released?
Yeah, I downloaded the original
code
and
ran
it.
Satoshi was still running the show there, yeah.
But then I didn't, so I'm sure I actually even mined something on my computer, because back then you could still CPU mine. But I never acted on it, and that hard drive is long gone. So let's not talk about it anymore. So then
brings up bad memories.
Yeah. So anyway, but then I did not return to Bitcoin until I want to say about 2012 is when I started back in earnest to work in and around Bitcoin related products.
Okay, and what made you decide to come back to it? What did you see in 2012 that you didn't see in 2009?
So, like I said, we were still working at that time on that backup product.
Okay.
And we were still hoping to make it, so we were working full time on that.
Yeah.
So once it became obvious that we were not going to be a successful venture, we had to pivot, and we pivoted into the crypto space.
Okay.
At the time.
So what was Bitcoin back then when you first got into it?
Oh my gosh, tens of dollars, really?
Yeah.
10, 20, 30.
Yeah. So around that time. So that's so we actually did a product called Coinvoice, and what that was an invoicing service. So you could use our website to invoice a third party, and then they would pay you either in Bitcoin or in US dollars, and then we would pay you out in the other currency.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful for people, for example, working across the pond that wanted to contract something in America, and and then they get paid, in Bitcoin, and therefore not pay transatlantic fees and all kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
So that product we had to shutter for various reasons, but at that point we actually had developed another piece of software called BTCD or BTC Suite, as most people know it, and that is a full node Bitcoin written in Golang. So we did that for at that point we had written it because we actually used it on the back end of Coinvoice. So we had already built up quite a bit of expertise in blockchain technology and in Bitcoin related products.
And when you say we, you're talking about you and Jake and Dave?
And Dave and several other folks. We
Okay.
Most of the people that are working with us today were working with us back then as well.
Okay.
So that's why we actually have several folks that can work on blockchain related products, because we do have actual expertise.
Yeah.
And blood, sweat, and tears, years of
Yeah.
of doing this. Right?
And then so you guys were working on all these projects, and then what made you and Dave and Jake and all these guys decide to come up with Decred?
So that was actually, once we wrote BTC Suite, which we expected people to embrace with open arms, the opposite happened. So here we are writing fantastic software, giving it away, and people are saying, you guys have got to stop doing that because it's bad.
Who said that?
Bitcoin core guys at the time.
Bitcoin core guys
so
said that.
They wanted to have sole possession of the technology, essentially.
Wait. Let's call a timeout here real quick before we move any further. I've always been under the impression that the Bitcoin core guys, wanted Bitcoin to succeed. So you wrote a different implementation of Bitcoin
In a different
software
language.
in a different language.
Yep.
Is it safe to say that, hey, that's like taking like the Bible and translating it into a different language?
No.
Like an English Bible and translating it into like a Chinese?
No, that's taking an English Bible and translating it into English.
Okay.
No, it's really, we were literally bug for bug compatible.
Yeah.
And
So why would if let's say that if somebody says that they're Christian and they want to promote Christianity, and you come along and you rewrite the Bible in a different language so more people can use it.
I'm not comfortable using this as a metaphor, honestly. It's going to make some people upset.
Yeah.
No, but that is, I honestly don't think that's actually the proper way of looking at it. So
Okay.
a better way to look at it is looking at the internet. So what made the internet successful? Was it that there was a single web browser and a single TCP/IP implementation?
Oh, okay.
Or was it that there were hundreds of
So
TCP/IP?
basically, they were Mozilla, and you came along and wrote Firefox.
Sure,
right?
that is the much.
That's a better.
Okay.
yeah.
So okay.
But it's
okay.
the web. They're both web browsers.
Yeah,
They're both, yeah.
But if somebody wants, if somebody says that they want the internet to succeed, why would they be against somebody building an additional browser?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
why
unless-
would they be against that? Well, so I have several opinions on this one, but the only one that I think is valid, or the valid one, is they were unwilling to share their sandbox with some other people. That's the only way I could read this.
Okay, so for the non-technical people in our audience that don't know what a sandbox is,
What I mean by sandbox is literally, this is my sandbox, you guys are not welcome to play in my sandbox. I'm talking about an actual sandbox.
Oh, okay.
Not a code sandbox.
Okay.
I know where you were
Okay.
going with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
Okay.
No, but I think that they were just unwilling to share
But
power.
don't you find that ironic, since this is an open source project, and it is open source means anyone can come in and contribute and add to it, and
that killed us. I mean, on the inside. I mean, we are open source developers, and we did is we gave it away, and we were expecting people to say, "Hey, that's great, thanks for helping." No, and we got the opposite, and that is actually what made us starting to think about alternatives. Actually, that's why I was actually leading up with that. Is that once we actually got smacked in the face, saying, "No, you guys are actually kind of not welcome." Okay, and why not? And that's when we actually started seeing what is happening actually today. And it's like, you know what? There is going to be a future crisis where this is going to come to a head, right? Because if people are not going to, if you're not welcoming other people to develop things, it means that you're going to have two power structures. And that's what happened at the time, right? So you had the developers, and then you had the miners, right? And what has happened, you know, as time has progressed, right? So all the developers got gobbled up by a single entity. Right,
Yeah.
so there's essentially there's a single corporate entity that controls Bitcoin for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And then there's the miners who essentially have or right access to the blockchain, right? So they are the ones who make the rules or ratify the rules at the very least. So, and we felt that that was not going to be adequate, and it would come to a head in the future. And here we are.
And what year was that, so that the audience knows? Because you guys saw.
I want to say 2013.
So you guys saw dry land through muddy waters. You guys saw this problem coming down the pipeline later on.
Sure, and we've worked on Decred for years at this point, right? So it went live in, I want to say 2016. We worked on it. So we worked on it outside of the public view for 2 years. So that puts us in 2014. So
you guys never did an ICO?
No ICOs.
Nothing. It was
So
just,
who funded this?
This was privately funded.
Okay.
So we never played that game, the ICO game. So we didn't, no venture capital money. It was privately funded. We struggled for a couple of years through it, and you know we are now at the end of the tunnel, and it's it's not a train, by the way. The light that's coming towards us.
we're very happy for you, because you know, like we Leon and I have always believed that was the biggest problem, is that Bitcoin does not have a final decision-making process and a final decision-making process and implementation process, which is known as a governance process. Right. And every time we bring that up, people think that we're trying to put the government on top of the blockchain.
Sure.
We're like, no, we would just want a final resolution process, so that when the community votes on, there should be a process where the community can vote on an upgrade to the blockchain, and it gets implemented. You know? And so that's why when we looked at the Decred project, we really liked it. And the other thing too was that you guys didn't run an ICO or crowd sale, none of that. So that was something else that we really liked.
Right. Yeah. So actually, we also did not have a lot of pre-mine either, and most of the pre-mine was actually given away to people as an airdrop. So to generate liquidity, some interest, and all that. So I think we're a bit of an outlier when it comes to that. So we had a non-traditional mechanism, and we also actually tend to write code before we hype code.
Yeah.
Right. So we will actually write the feature, debug it, get it ready, and then put it out for people to see and for them to play with. And then we start saying, hey, look at how awesome we are. So versus, hey, give us a whole bunch of money, and then maybe we'll write this feature, and we'll get it in the future maybe. Right?
Okay. And so that must have been like, was that your decision, or Dave or Jake, or was that a consensus agreement? I'm sure there's somebody in there that must have, didn't one of you guys say, hey man, we can do an ICO or a crowd sale and raise money for this?
No, we weren't structured that way. So we already had a company in place at the time. It was called Conformal Systems, and it was already funded, privately funded. And we kept that around for a little bit. So then we restructured, we created Company Zero. But the same people that were working for Conformal moved to Company Zero. It was just a different entity.
Yeah.
And Decred itself actually has a organization that sits in Nevis. That's where the DAO is going to be incorporated.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so I missed the last part of your question actually here.
No, I was just asking like, when.
Oh yeah, so we retained the same people that were working on the backup project, and they started working on Bitcoin-related things, and then ultimately on Decred.
And then I'm sure that during those first couple of years when you guys were trying to get the project up and running and writing all that code, and because would it be safe to say that the project, in my opinion, did not hit like mainstream and didn't hit big until 2017?
That's accurate. But also pretty unknown at the time, right?
Yeah. Like we didn't even know about Decred until. Was it Charlie Lee?
Yeah, Charlie Lee tweeted about it, which is what very similar when I looked at Dash, and I realized that they have some governance model. It's not anywhere near as sophisticated as Decred, but it is some, there is a treasury, there is a way to submit proposals, there is a way for the community to vote on it, and so it does have, there's some mechanism even if it's not perfect,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Versus what we have in Bitcoin, which is no mechanism, right?
Yeah.
But that's when I heard about Decred. It wasn't really until shortly after the Miami or around Miami last year.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but like I said,
Yeah.
we really did not make a lot of stink about it at all, and that was actually also by design. So we offer the airdrop to a lot of open source developers, so people that we've worked with in the past that write cool software. We basically, email blasted a bunch of people and said, do you want to participate? So we really did not put it out there. Again, being who we are culturally is, so we're going to write code first. And we were not comfortable, hyping everything up before it was ready to go.
Yeah. And you had, by this time, you had already seen what Ethereum had done, and the big ICOs that were running, that were raising money, and there was no thought that, hey, maybe we can get some money to.
Money does not equal development. That is, I think, a bit of a misnomer.
It equals the ability to hire developers who can then do development.
Yeah. So I have two thoughts on that, or actually, two. Multiple opinions, really conflicting opinions, is that blockchain developers are really hard to find.
Sure.
And most of them are actually true believers, and it's not about payment, right? It's about doing cool technology.
Yeah.
So you can have $100 million in a bank account, but if you cannot find the guy to write your code, you're a guy with $100 million in a bank account, right? So yes, money would enable that, but at that time, we really could not have actually added more people to it and actually be productive with it. We had enough people working on the right things.
You were not capital constrained,
we were not.
Okay.
So it was unfun, obviously, when you're losing money left and right? So we actually did scale the team down a little bit, but we were never at a point where it's like, okay, we're going to flip the table and walk away from this. So that was never the case.
And that never even came up.
No. I mean, it was stressful, obviously, because we're yelling at each other, trying to figure out how to do this code, and there was a lot of emotion and a lot of,
well, I respect that, but, because like when Leon and I were starting, when we were building our cryptocurrency market business, we run through some hard times.
Sure.
When we were first starting out, just like any other startup, and there was lots of heated discussions and debates, but we came through, right? So I can respect that, how you guys had to go through all that same hardship in the beginning.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, like, there are some people that say that, the price gone up, but hey, you guys deserve it.
Well,
I mean, you guys deserve it. I mean, you guys put out the code, and the market is saying that this is what it's valued at. So.
And I appreciate all the people that have bought it. Buy some more, by the way. But no, so but I truly appreciate the amount of people that have gotten into it. But, but I think that Decred actually at this point is ready for much wider adoption. So code-wise, we are getting to a point. By the way, the 2017 date is also relevant because that's when we actually went 1.0. That's when we felt comfortable. This is right. Now we got it, right?
Yeah, now we can talk about it.
Right, and that's actually also when the voting, the hard fork voting became active, was in early 2017.
Okay.
So, and that's also when the hype machine got turned on a little bit.
Okay.
And that's when we started to become better known, and we have been, ramping that up, and we are going to continue to ramp that up, because we are also now, so Lightning Network has been activated, so we're going to have the tools done here pretty quickly. Yeah. The off-chain voting portion is about to happen as well. So that we have a lot of really exciting features coming down the pipeline in the next 6 months.
Before we talk about those features, right? Can you talk about the few guys in your team? Like who are the main founders of Decred? You and I met Dave.
So Jake is the let's call him the thought leader. So he's the CEO of the company Zero.
Okay.
And he is the one who employs us essentially.
Okay.
So he is annoyingly smart. So he's a physicist, really, really bright, and thinks 1,000 miles ahead of everyone else. So he's so even though he doesn't write code, he could. And, he just comes up with these things, and like I said, he's always miles ahead of everyone else. So he has these seemingly random 15 things going on, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's what he was getting at, right? Okay. So he's very, very bright and very good thought leader, in the.
So he's like the strategic leader for the
entire project. Yeah.
And what about Dave? I met Dave.
So Dave is actually the lead developer. You called me that, and I just didn't want to interrupt it. He's the Decred lead developer.
Okay.
So what I do is actually new developments. I work on features that don't exist.
Okay.
So, for example, the voting system was one of the things that I wrote.
Okay.
So,
Like the Politia
Politia
voting
is all
system?
me. Yeah, that's all me. But also the hard fork voting. So
Okay.
I wrote that code. I did all the soft forking upgrades. So
Okay.
I wrote all that stuff
Mhm.
because that was typically new development. Dave is very meticulous. So if you want to develop something quickly and have a feature out, he will sit on it and will make it perfect.
Yeah.
And
But in this particular case, because this code actually has value, has money, so
Sure.
it's not just like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Windows where it crashes, you just reboot.
Sure.
This
No,
is
so-
where if it crashes, you
Oh,
lose
bad things
money.
happen. Yeah, yeah.
Bad things happen. So something like that, you do
Well-
want people that's meticulous and
I might have been misinterpreted here, or I've said it wrong.
Yeah.
But Dave typically works on the hardcore consensus daemon portions, the ones
Okay.
that cannot go wrong and that
Yeah.
require that level of tenacity.
yeah.
So typically, and this is where actually the distinction comes from, is that I typically work on the faster moving, newer features
Yeah.
that are not consensus critical.
Okay.
So, and obviously once I cross my line, right? So his domain, my domain, right? So once I
Yeah.
cross that, then it's always the two of us are going to sit there and get it right.
Okay.
So for example, I wrote the initial soft forking code. So then he and I spent another 2 to 3 months validating that code and
Yeah.
writing unit test cases around that.
Okay.
And that's also what happened with the hard forking code. So I wrote the initial version of that, right, so that it started to work. And once it started working, okay, now let's go attack it from multiple angles. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
So I usually work on the faster moving stuff. So hence
Yeah.
Politia landed in my, because that was brand new development. It just, nothing existed.
Okay.
Had to be done from scratch.
Well, that's all the questions that I have.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming down during this freezing weather outside to come in.
In Austin, Texas, it's freezing.
Yeah, it's freezing.
Very
People think
odd.
that Texas is warm all the time, but it's freezing outside. We have Leon just checked the weather here. It's not
roads
just
are
the
dry.
roads are not just red; they're like dark red. The
red,
show
yeah.
is not even moving at all.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you taking the time out to come out during this freezing cold weather outside to come and share about Decred with us.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. And
Yeah.
if you guys, have more questions, I'll actually let me point it out. Decred.org.
Yeah, for more information, go to decred.org.
Yeah.
So go
Right.
or come find us on Slack or on Rocket Chat. I mean, we are on all the platforms at this point. So
Okay.
we're also ramping up our marketing stuff.
Yeah.
We are not hard to find anymore.
Okay. And if you guys want to see how their voting system works, you can go to their testnet and look at the proposal that Leon and I submitted, and then you guys can follow along, right? We did it as an example to show what it can do, what the community can do and not do. So whether, regardless if the proposal gets approved or gets denied in the future, it's still a win for the entire blockchain community because we can demonstrate how a formal proposal should be done and how the community should vote on it instead of sitting there bickering about it, arguing about it on Twitter and all that nonsense. People should vote on it and then get it implemented or not.
Right. Yeah, and I really appreciate you doing that, by the way, because we only had test proposals that were, let's call them, a little silly.
Test proposals.
Yeah, and yours was dead on. It was actually, okay, so this is what's going to cost, this is going to be the time frame. So it had all the elements. And in fact, I'm probably going to start using that, if you don't mind, as the
that's what I
example
did.
proposal
That's what I did
for
it
people.
for.
So look, these are the 5 headings that you want to put on there. And so
Yeah.
this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So I really, truly appreciate that. And actually, maybe you should tweet it out, the link to it, so that people can actually look at it.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that along with this video and put it at the bottom of this video too. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching this video, guys. If you guys like our, boots on the ground type of investing approach, where we go and talk to the actual development teams to make sure they're real people, get real information, from real people, not somebody working out of their mom's basement, then make sure you guys follow us at www.cryptocurrency.market/newsletter, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Right? So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.